Hello and welcome to another OptiFlex Pro video. Today's video is going to help you to understand how to unbox and set up the OptiFlex Pro. We have an OptiFlex Pro box unit right here in front of us, and so this video will help you to understand the basic steps that you'll use to be able to unpackage it and set it up for use. Some of the first things we're going to want to do is clear out a nice area for us to be able to have all of the items come out of the box in a safe place for us to put them on the floor or on a table so that we can understand what items we have in the box and be able to assemble them in the sequential order. But as we get ready to unbox the unit, a couple tools that you will need. One is a box knife to be able to cut the straps or tape that is on the box. We'll safely remove the packing straps and cut the tape. Be aware that there are some packaging staples that are in the box, so as you are opening up the box, you can safely remove those. So our first step is to cut the straps, cut the tape, and we'll unbox it and begin the process. Now that we have the box opened, we can see a number of the assembly and components that we'll be taking out of the box and setting them up here as we go through this video. But the first item that we see on top is a step-by-step instruction guide that shows various pictures on how to assemble the unit. So we'll be following along with this as we go through our step-by-step video here, but we'll set this aside for the moment. And one other item of note is you'll find inside the box is a literature packet that includes a variety of safety literature and a warranty form that you will be using later on. So we'll get back to this in a moment, but we'll set this aside as well. So let's start unpacking some of the items that are in the box. First item I'm going to grab is our suction tube, pump, and swing arm assembly. It's identified on the corner of the box. You'll have the part numbers and the items that are inside each. But as we open up the box, you can see that we have the pump, the swing arm, and the suction tube. And we'll set those aside as we'll begin installing those a little bit later. The next item we'll unpack is our miscellaneous items. Inside here will be the upper portion of the cart that supports the control unit, and so we'll assemble that here shortly. So the next item is the gun, which will include inside the box not only the gun, but it also includes the gun cable, some accessory components, and the rinsing air. And you'll see that after we've peeled away the packing insulation. The gun is inside the box, and we'll set that aside whenever we're ready to install that as well. We'll also find inside the box the main power cord, which brings power to the unit so that we can turn it on and off. We also have the powder hose inside of the box. Another item that's inside the box is the control unit, and we'll pull that out and we'll set it aside for us to use at a later time when we're ready for that to assemble it onto the cart. So now everything is out of the box except for one last item, and that is the cart base itself. To be able to remove the cart from the box, there's some cardboard packaging that you'll want to remove. So take a moment to remove those few pieces. Now that we have the cardboard packing material out of the box, we're going to take a moment and we're going to slide the entire unit all the way out of the way so that when we tilt the unit up, we're going to grab the base of the cart, bring the unit out of the box, set the box out of the way, and we're ready to begin the installation. Now that we've unboxed the unit, we have all the materials set aside either on the floor or a nearby table for easy access. Let's begin by setting the unit up. We'll now pull out the vibrating motor cable and the main air supply out of the base of the unit. We'll push those aside slightly. I'm also going to turn the unit so that we can have a little bit better viewing of the assembly. We'll take the top part of the cart unit here that holds and supports the control unit, grab the two hardware pieces, the nuts that are 13mm nuts. We'll push the vibrating motor cable and the main air tubing through the bottom of the unit. Pull those through and just kind of set those out of the way. We'll line up the bolt holes and insert using our fingers the bottom nut. And we'll put our hand inside here. Get those as finger tight as possible. Now that we've got the nuts finger tight, we'll grab the supplied Gema tool, which is designed for these bolts. If you prefer to use your own wrenches and tools, you may use a 13mm socket or a 13mm wrench to be able to tighten these up. Basically, we'll put the tool on the nuts and tighten them up. Now that they're tight, and we're ready to begin the next step. Following our quick reference guide for installation, you'll see that our next step is to install the control unit. I brought the control unit a little bit closer here to me. You'll notice that the red and black lines are already pre-installed, as well as the ground cable is also installed. We'll deal with those a little bit later. We're going to take the nut off of the mounting hardware. We'll remove the spacer that is used to be able to position the control unit. You'll notice there's a series of holes. Those are the holes that lock it into place so that when you put your control unit on, it's not swiveling, but it does give you the flexibility to put it into any type of position for flexibility in coding and viewing. For today's installation, we're just going to lock it straight forward. So we'll put the mounting spacer on, line the hole up, grab the control unit, now that the control unit is mounted, we'll reach behind it and install the nut. With the nut installed, we can grab our Gema supplied tool. If you'd like to use your own tools, you can use a 15mm socket or wrench. But using the Gema tool, we'll reach underneath here and begin the process of tightening down the control unit. So now we've reached the point in our installation where we're ready to install the back panel on the cart. We'll grab the items that we need, which include the white back panel, the 4 screws that are set up for an Allen wrench, and of course the Allen wrench itself. I'll come around to the back of the unit and I'll show you some things to consider as you put on the back panel. Before we install the back panel, a couple things I'd like to mention. First off, the main air line and the vibrating cable are all tightened up here in the base of the cart. You may find that you might need to adjust the loops in the main vibrating cable in order to give yourself enough slack to be able to position the vibrating motor cable into the connector, as well as also for the air line. So make those minor adjustments as you see fit before you install the back panel. We'll go ahead and install the main air line. We'll put it in here to the port that says main air in. So this is the black tubing. We'll shove that into place. We'll also go ahead and take the vibrating cable and we'll put it into the auxiliary port labeled 2.2. It is a keyed connector, so make sure that you've got it adjusted correctly. You may have to rotate it or spin it to be able to align the alignment key. Once you've got it slid in and the pins feel like they're in place, go ahead and turn the knurled knob to tighten it down. Now that we have the cable and the main air ready to go, we'll go ahead and grab our back panel, put it into place, grab our hardware. Now that we've got all 4 screws in place, we can finger tighten them. And then using the supplied wrench, just use our Allen wrench to then tighten these up so that it's nice and secure. Once they're all tight, you're ready for the next step. Now that we've turned the unit around, we're ready to continue on with the installation. We're really, at this point, ready for the suction tube swing arm, the injector, and we'll grab those components. The swing arm that's used to support the suction tube is easily mounted. You'll notice that there is a bushing here inside the swing arm, and we'll actually mount that onto the stem that's on the cart. Before we do that, we want to make sure that the retaining nut at the end of the suction tube swing arm is nice and secure. We'll also move the retaining bracket out of the way. We'll go ahead and install the swing arm onto the support. It slides right on, and it's able to be swung left or right as needed. We'll grab the suction tube. The suction tube also has a retaining bracket for the injector to secure that when we put it into place. You also notice that there is an O-ring that is on the tube itself. As we move that O-ring up and down, it allows us to be able to adjust the height of the suction tube as it's positioned in the swing arm. So as we slide the suction tube in the swing arm, wherever the O-ring is located, the tube will stop. So if you need to adjust it so that it goes deeper into the box or further up in the box, we just manually adjust its position. Once we've got it at the desired height that we want to use, grab the injector, we'll slide the retaining bracket out of the way, insert the pump into the suction tube, take the retaining bracket, push it into place so that it secures the injector. Now you may find that you want to have all of your connectors going in the same direction. You can adjust the location of the injector as you see fit as we're installing the rest of the assembly. But that is your swing arm, suction tube, and injector. And now we're ready for the next step. Now that we've installed the suction tube and the injector, we're ready to install the air lines to the injector. We'll grab our red, black, and the smaller black lines that are already pre-installed on the back of the control unit. Each one of these are keyed to fit to the appropriate connector, so you're assured that you're not going to get them misconnected. So we'll connect our red to the red, the bigger black to its keyed black connector, and the final one, which is our small black line, will be connected directly to the suction tube. Now, for those of you that may look for a little bit of flexibility, one small tip that may help you in the future, each of these tubing lines are all connected using a zip tie to keep them nice and secured. You may find that it would be convenient to slide one of these back a little bit further, giving you just a little bit more room as you disconnect these so that you have a little bit more flexibility. That small adjustment may prohibit any kind of kinking or collapsing of the hose as you use the unit. So just a small tip that may help you in the future. But now that we've got the air lines installed, we're ready for the next step. So now we're ready to install the gun and rinse air assembly. To be able to do that, we're going to have to do a little preparatory work prior to us installing it. So we're going to roll the unit out of the way, and we'll come back and show you how to assemble the gun cable and rinse air line together. So now we're ready to begin the assembly of the rinse air tubing, the gun and gun cable, as well as the powder hose. Everyone's preference is different, but we're going to recommend that you attach the powder hose, rinse air, and the gun cable together using the black provided Velcro pieces. The first step we're going to do is to take the gun and to lay the cable out on the floor and secure the Velcro pieces. We'll show you that. So now that we have the gun cable laid out on the floor, we'll take one of our black Velcro pieces, separating them from the group. We'll take our gun cable and we'll position ourselves about 18 inches or so down from the actual bottom of the gun. This will set us up for success later when we go to use the gun and to remove the powder hose from the gun for color change. So we'll take the Velcro piece, we'll loop the long end through the slot and slide the Velcro nice and snug up against the gun cable. Now we have the fuzzy side looking at us, and we'll move on to the next piece. We'll grab another Velcro piece. So we'll put the next one about 2 feet or so down from our first one, slide this on, secure it into spot, and we'll continue that every 2 feet or so down to the end of the cable until we've run out of our black Velcro pieces. Now that we've got all of the Velcro pieces on the gun cable, we'll take our powder hose, unpackage it along with our clear rinse air tubing, and we'll string both of those out on the floor right next to the gun cable, and we'll begin the process of securing them to the gun cable. So now that we have the powder hose and gun cable laid out on the floor, we're really ready to begin the connection to the actual gun body itself. Grabbing your powder hose, you can insert it into the connector that is at the base of the gun, sliding the powder hose on and pushing it securely onto the connector. Once it's in place, take your rinse air tubing and secure it to the connector as well. Now we have our gun cable, powder hose, and rinse air all connected to the base of the gun. For the next step, we're going to secure all of these together using the Velcro straps. It may be convenient if you use the hook that is on the gun and attach it or secure it to the bar that is mounted on the left or right side of the control unit. So we'll put the gun on the control unit using the supplied hook to secure it nice and safely. We'll grab our powder hose, gun cable, and rinse air, and using our hand just to kind of keep them nice and aligned so that everything is not getting twisted up, we'll come to our first black Velcro strap. We'll loop it around and secure all three pieces. It doesn't have to be very tight, just so that it's nice and secure, keeps them together. And we'll continue that process as we pull the gun cable, powder hose, and rinse air further on down the, again, just rotating the Velcro strap around, securing it so that everything is nice and neat together, and we'll continue that all the way down the rest of the gun cable. Now that we've secured the powder hose, the rinse air, and the gun cable together, we coil them up in a convenient arrangement so that we can place them on the supplied hook that's mounted on the cart. We'll maintain the ends of our gun cable and our rinse air. We'll set those aside briefly. We'll install those in just a moment. And we'll grab our powder hose and we'll begin the installation process of that onto the injector. We'll grab our hose kink protector. We'll take the powder hose and insert it through the kink protector. Take the powder hose and insert it onto the end of the injector, pushing it down until it's nice and secure. Taking the hose kink protector and pushing that down till it makes contact with the injector pump, giving us a nice secure support for the powder hose. Now that we've installed the powder hose, we'll grab our gun cable and our rinse air, and we'll insert those into the back of the control unit next. So now we're ready for the next step of installing the gun cable and rinse air. We'll grab those two items, take the rinse air, we'll mount it in its rinse air port with the orange and black arrow. We'll take the gun cable connector and we'll put it in the gun port, the silver, and we'll rotate it around to find the keyed connection. Once it slides into place, take the knurled knob and lock it into place. Another pro tip that might be helpful is if you're concerned about people tugging as they're using the gun, you can leave a little bit of extra slack in the gun cable line and then secure it to the rinse air. So you have a little bit of slack in the gun cable and secure using some electrical tape or something that you feel is appropriate, and securing those so if somebody does pull on the rinse air, they're tugging on the rinse air tubing and not so much on the gun cable. So now we're ready to install the main power as well as the ground wire to the control unit. Our main power is supplied. It's the black cable with a special connector that will go to the control unit as well as your standard electrical plug. You're going to need your standard Phillips screwdriver that's not supplied, so you will need to grab this from your own tools, and we'll actually connect the main power to the control unit. So now we're going to install the main power cord. We'll take the connector and our screwdriver, bring the connector up to the port for the mains power, take our screwdriver and secure it in place, making sure it's nice and secure, and we're now ready to plug in at the appropriate time. So now we're ready to talk about the connection of the pneumatic supply line. Gema provides a quick disconnect connector as well as a retaining ring so that you can apply these to your existing air line, usually a rubber hose of appropriate size. We recommend that you use the Gema connectors because they do offer high flow so that we get adequate airflow supplied to the control unit so we have the best application performance. Once you've secured your quick disconnect to your air line, you'll bring and connect that right here to the bottom of the connector, mounted below the regulator, and you'll be ready to supply compressed air to the unit. Now that you have the power cord connected, the ground cable also needs to be connected. It will go to an appropriate ground source. Our safety literature has information on not only personnel grounding, but also equipment grounding. Be sure to review that information so that you know how to attach the cable to a proper ground. If your ground and your power source for the unit are in the same direction, you may find it convenient to be able to secure both of them together like you see here. It's not necessary, but you may find it convenient. We're now ready to install the black rubber mat, which goes inside the storage compartment. This is where we can store our extra tips and nozzles as we're using the unit. Gives us a nice storage compartment for storage. We also have a plastic protector that is used to cover the face of the control unit. Slides over the front. The adhesive tabs can be easily removed, and you just press the protector onto the face of the control unit, still giving you the ability to adjust the functions of the various buttons, but also protecting it from powder and dust and so forth. Well, we're almost ready to start up the unit, but prior to us doing that, let's just cover a few things that are included in all of the OptiFlex Pro units. You'll find the brown box that includes a few parts. One is a tool that's used with the injector. We'll cover that in a little bit, as well as a Ziploc bag that has some extra parts in it, some zip ties if you want to secure some cables or tubing, as well as a couple O-rings for the pump and the replacement spare cartridge for the injector. We'll set those aside here for a second. We also have in a Ziploc bag is an extra nozzle. It's our NF20 nozzle and the appropriate threaded sleeve for that, as well as a multi-spray adapter. Multi-spray adapter is a small little adapter that we've covered in another video that slips onto the front of the nozzle that can be used with the gun. You'll also find an extra O-ring and an extra hose connection piece. This particular piece is different than the one that's supplied with the gun. It is designed for a much smaller diameter hose, but it is there for those that might need it. We also included in the gun box a bristle brush, which is used for cleaning. We've covered how to properly use this in one of our other videos. We have our tool that is used with the injector. We'll take a moment just to understand how it works. The first thing we want to do is to grab the kink protector and slide it back off the powder hose just a little bit. Grab and push the yellow button that is on the bottom of the injector, pushing it up and releasing the powder hose connector and powder hose. We'll set that aside. We'll take our powder hose tool and we'll insert it onto the end of the cartridge and pull the cartridge out of the injector. Once we've removed the injector cartridge, we'll separate it from the powder hose and then use our gauge to check the wear. Inserting the gauge into the cartridge, we can rotate the cartridge around, make sure that it's worn evenly. But a new injector would have about this much distance as you see on the screen. And then once it is completely worn out, the injector will slide all the way to the end of the tool, and that's our indication to know that it is time for replacing. So the injector tool and the powder hose piece are both helpful and useful as we keep our OptiFlex Pro operating in peak performance. Once we've verified that the cartridge is in good repair, we'll reinsert it into the injector, grab the hose connection and powder hose, inserting and pushing until you hear a click. Once we've heard the click, we know that it's properly inserted. We'll grab the kink protector, pushing that on there, and now we're ready to go. All of our units include some information such as safety literature and operational information. One of the items we'll highlight here is our short operational manual, which is more of a pictorial guide on how to utilize the OptiFlex Pro gun, as well as some area for programming information. Put your recipes that you might record for the different parts that you're coding, as well as some information on our e-app and how to connect the control unit to the e-app. We've also included in the information here some mounting instructions for the serial number. Each of the units come with a little sticker that has the serial number for the unit and then instructions on where to mount that. Just mounting that on the side of the cart right here so that you record that for your warranty. And we include a warranty authorization form in every one of our units. Please fill that out and send that back to the factory, and that way you ensure to make sure that your unit is registered and get the full factory warranty. We also include a small operational manual. If you're needing some more technical details on the unit, each of the units come with their own operational manual. Those are also available on our website at gemapowdercoating.com. As I mentioned earlier, we include some safety literature. Inside each one of our units is a safety bulletin on how to operate electrostatic equipment properly, as well as personal grounding, equipment grounding, target grounding, and other safety information. We strongly encourage that you read through each one of these to make sure you understand best practices for safe and operational performance. There are some stickers that are also supplied. Each of these stickers are really there for safety. As we're dealing with electrostatics, certainly there's always a danger of any kind of discharge or fire hazard. So make sure that you've read through the safety information and then apply the decals in appropriate locations in and around your shop. One final thing that is included in our information are the static dissipating gloves. Each unit comes with a pair of electrostatic dissipating gloves that can be used by the operator. When an operator is gripping the gun handle, their hand maintains contact with the ground connection in the gun. But there may be times where people choose or are requested to utilize some sort of glove as a barrier between their hand and the gun itself. If that's the case, Gema strongly recommends that you use the provided gloves, which are designed to dissipate any electrostatic buildup that may be occurring as your hand is touching the gun. These gloves are one size fits all and machine washable. Each glove comes with conductive fibers that are woven into the glove material. And so we recommend that you utilize these or something very similar when utilizing gloves and conducting spraying operation. Now that we've reviewed the gloves, the safety literature, we're almost ready to start up the unit. We really just have to connect our ground connection as well as power to the unit, and we'll be ready to begin operation. So we're almost ready to begin operation of our OptiFlex Pro. The last and final thing to do is to make sure our ground connection is made. So we take our ground wire, connecting it to our ground source, grounding rod source. We'll take our power cord, put it in at the electrical power outlet. And now we have ground and we have power and we're ready to begin operation. So we've walked through all of the steps to assemble our OptiFlex Pro unit, and now we're ready to begin using it. We hope that you'll check out some of our other videos on best practices and how to use the OptiFlex Pro. We hope you've enjoyed this video today.